One of the most annoying things I see when I watch people in low to mid elo play jungle is that they're not really playing for anything. They are on full autopilot and they're not actively trying to win the game. They are just there, doing whatever, and it's so wrong and inefficient. When playing jungle, you get the ability to decide what happens in the early game, and if you don't use that ability, you will always lose. Yes, your teammates will sometimes feed AFK, troll, blah blah blah, but that's not every game and you know that. If you feel like it happens every game, then it's just confirmation bias, or you simply don't know what to look for or what to do. It's statistically impossible to have that happen in every game where you get an AFK or an inter or a troll. In reality, if you can play level 1 to level 6 in a very consistent and good way, you can find yourself in the lead very easily every game. You just have to follow these 3 rules every time. And we're going to start off with number 1. Identify your winning condition. What champion on your team is going to win you teamfights or the game? Do you have a late game AD carry, like Jinx for example, and a tank top lane? Then your AD carry is your win con, the winning condition. We need to play for bot side in the early game, get them ahead and prevent them from falling behind. That's our only job in the early game. If we do that, our chances of winning increases by a lot. Do we have Ezreal Janna bot lane? Then we can't do shit because they have no engage and no damage, so the ganks are pointless. Then you play for another lane. Do we have a Tryndamere top lane and he's already winning because, you know, he's Tryndamere, he crit level 2 and won the fight. What does Tryndamere want to do? Does he want to group up for a 5 versus 5 team fight? No, he does not. Because most top lane champions, unless they are engaged tanks, actually suck at team fighting and are better used to split push and create pressure. Do we group up in the same side lane where the Tryndamere is creating pressure? Or do we play for the other side of the map, create impossible situations for the enemy team? Do they answer the Tryndamere push or do they answer our push? They can't do both, so you always win that trade. Every game has a winning condition, and the number 1 rule is to identify what that is and only play towards it. If you're playing Jarvan and you're doing your 7th full clear in a row and you have a Draven with 0 kills bot lane and you lose the game, it's your fault, nobody else's, because you are not playing towards your winning condition. Okay, let's say you have managed to gain a small lead for your win con. Now we move to rule number 2, and that is expand your lead. What's the point of having a lead if we are just going to play even from this point and trade farm? They play for minion waves, you just full clear jungle again. Nothing happens. Then you are just slowly allowing the enemy team to come back into the game, because we have shutdowns and they don't. And on top of that, they get objective bounties and we don't. So you need to take the driver's seat and recognize when you have a gold lead and create opportunities to expand your lead. And that does not mean start random fights for no reason, because those are risky and we don't like risky plays when we are ahead. Instead, focus on stuff that is easier to achieve, like tower gold and objectives. The most important is towers, because they give a lot of gold. The second most important is Herald, because it allows you to quickly knock down towers and the enemy team can't defend their towers. The least important is actually dragons. So many people overvalue dragon like it's an insane win condition, when in reality, only the dragon soul is worth fighting for. And that's not every dragon soul, just a few of them. So the step-by-step guide to increasing your team's gold lead is to first walk from lane to lane and knock down every tier 1 tower and make sure that the win con always gets gold into their bank account. When the enemy team doesn't have tier 1 towers, they typically overextend and they are an easy kill. If dragon is up, we can take it, because the enemy team can't really contest it if we have a big lead. They will lose in 99% of fights unless our win con is stupid and decides to face check a malfight or something. But you can even prevent that if you just walk alongside them. Once we have all the tier 1 towers, we need to focus on tier 2. Now those towers give more gold, but they are deeper in the lane, and if we move blindly there, we give the opponent the ability to walk behind us and flank us. And that way they can win fights in a numbers advantage or a flank position. So when pushing a tier 2 tower, we need to set up vision first. If we have taken Rift Herald, pushing tier 2 and tier 3 towers become really easy, because what are they gonna do? The Herald charges and it just smashes the tower. So let's now say everything is going perfectly. We have every tier 1 tower and a few tier 2 towers. We have 2-3 dragons and our win con is 1 full item ahead. Now we can move to the last rule. Number 3. We need to take Raptor Camp. What? Not the Raptor Camp? Oh, I know. Blue buff. What? Seriously? You see this big purple thing, Baron? If you kill that thing, it becomes impossible for the enemy team to clear your minion waves. And that allows you to simply walk up the tier 3 towers and knock them down and take inhibitors. Taking Baron is so easy, and most players in lower elos are so afraid of touching this thing. Baron is the key to winning games, and you can use it in 2 ways. You can either start Baron and bait the enemy team to fight you for it, which you should win because you are ahead, assuming that you play the fight well. Or you see 1 or 2 players from the enemy team on vision or on the other side of the map, and you can simply take it for free. It legit takes 10 seconds to kill if you have good DPS on your team. In some cases you might even have 2 of your teammates show up in a lane and you can 2 or 3 man Baron. But in any case, now you have Baron. At this point, we are 1 team fight away from winning the game. You are playing jungle. In most cases, you start the fights. So what can you do? Raptor Camp. No. Recalling and full clearing again is so bad, and I see this a lot. You need to fight, but we need to start good fights for our win condition. You can recall, spend your final gold, but starting good fights is our only priority right now. We don't insec kick a Mumu into our Jinx, we start fights that are safe for our team. At this point we have a big enough gold lead to quickly kill the enemy and win the game, provided that it's a good fight. Always try to move with your win con, and never stop using your pings. Spam ping towers, spam ping Baron, always spam ping the things that you want to play for, because your teammates' attention span is very short. So what did we learn in this video? A quick recap. Identify who's your winning condition on your team and play for them only. Once we have a small gold lead, we don't let our foot off the gas and start just full clearing again. We continue to look for ways to increase our gold lead. Small fights, objectives, but mainly tower gold. And once we have all tier 1s and tier 2s, we can set up vision in the enemy jungle and bait a Baron fight. They are either going to fight us or they are not. In any way that is good for us. When we have Baron, we look for 1 big team fight and we try and end the game, but focus on creating a good team fight for the win con and don't just engage randomly. If you follow these 3 rules consistently, you will 100% climb and win games playing jungle. And some champions have an easier time following these 3 rules than others. And that is why you always see Jarvan and Nocturne right now as meta junglers, because they are incredibly good at starting fights. This was a video where you have a tiny gold lead and you snowball into a win. If you want to learn how to play from a deficit or a bad early game, comment #JungleDiff and I'll make a video talking about that. But this has been it for this video. Hope you learned something. Like if you found it useful, and if you don't want to miss out on the next one, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.